I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. When was the last time you actually put yourself first? Not out of exhaustion, not because there was nothing left to give, but genuinely, lovingly, on purpose. If you had to think about it for more than a few seconds, this is exactly where you need to be right now. Here is what I have seen in all my years of walking with people through their deepest moments of pain and transformation. The people who feel overlooked, unappreciated, invisible, they are almost always the same people who have made everyone else the center of their world. And I understand it. I truly do. We are taught from the time we are very small that love means giving, that goodness means sacrifice, that a worthy person is one who is always available, always serving, always last in line. But dear one, what if everything you were taught about that was just slightly, quietly wrong? Here is the truth that changed everything for me, and it will change everything for you too. The world does not overlook people who have been generous. The world mirrors what you believe about yourself, and the moment you begin to truly focus on yourself, your growth, your healing, your joy, something in the universe shifts. You stop chasing, and somehow, without all that chasing, the right things start finding you. So stay with me, because what we are about to explore together is not just a pep talk. It is a full, honest, gentle revolution of the way you see yourself. Let us start with something that might feel uncomfortable to hear. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. I know some of you just tensed up a little. Maybe you heard a parent's voice in the back of your mind. Maybe you felt a flicker of guilt. But stay with me, because that guilt, it is not the truth. It is just a very old, very tired story that you inherited. Think about a candle for a moment, a candle that burns and burns and burns until there is nothing left. What light does it have to offer then? None. And yet so many of us live exactly like that candle. We give our energy, our time, our attention, our peace to everything and everyone around us. And then we wonder why we feel hollow, why we feel resentful, why we go to bed exhausted and wake up just as tired. Focusing on yourself is not about becoming cold or closed off. It is about becoming full. It is the sacred, deeply loving act of replenishing what the world draws from you. When you are full, truly full, you give from overflow rather than from depletion. And that kind of giving, that is the only kind that actually nourishes people. The rest is just performance, and performing kindness from an empty place is one of the loneliest feelings there is. Taking time for yourself is an act of self-respect. It is a quiet declaration that you recognize your own worth. And here is the beautiful thing. The more you honor yourself, the more you teach everyone around you to honor you too. Not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. Now here is where it gets a little deeper, and I want you to stay open, even if what I am about to say stirs something in you. So many people spend their whole lives folding themselves into the shape of someone else's expectations. They follow paths carved by family, by culture, by invisible rules that whisper, "This is what success looks like. This is who you are supposed to be." And they follow those whispers for years, sometimes for decades. Until one morning they look in the mirror and they genuinely do not recognize the person looking back at them. Maybe that has happened to you. Maybe you are in the middle of it right now. You were not placed here to shrink yourself. You were not meant to twist and bend and mold your deepest desires to fit a version of you that exists only in other people's imaginations. And I know letting go of that is not easy. When you start choosing yourself, fear creeps in. What will they think? Will they still love me if I change? Will I lose people I care about? Here is what I want you to hold on to. The people who are truly meant to walk this journey with you will not leave because you chose yourself. They may not understand at first. Real love does not crumble because you stopped being convenient. Real love is built on authenticity. And if someone's love for you depends entirely on you living in a way that suffocates your soul, then what you have been protecting is not love. It is control dressed up in love's clothing. You do not need permission to be who you are. The only permission that has ever mattered is your own. And here is something I really want you to hear, because this one trips people up more than almost anything else. Comparison. That quiet, insidious habit of measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel and deciding that you are falling behind. It is one of the fastest ways to rob yourself of peace. The moment you look at where someone else is and ask, "Why not me? Why not yet?" you have just stepped into a race that was never designed for you to run. Think of a garden in summer. Some flowers bloom early, some take until autumn. But does that make the early bloom more worthy? Does the sunflower feel ashamed that it is not a rose? Of course not. The sunflower turns toward the light and does exactly what it was made to do. Your path has its own timing. Your unfolding has its own season. And the only thing that comparison ever actually does is pull your eyes off your own magnificent, one-of-a-kind garden. When you see others thriving, choose curiosity over envy. Let their achievement be a reminder of what is possible, not a reminder of what you lack. Every step you are taking, even the ones that feel slow, even the ones that feel sideways, they are leading you exactly where you need to be. Once you stop measuring yourself against others, something else opens up. You start to feel what it is like to say no. And I mean truly say it, without the apology woven into it, without the guilt that follows you around for 3 days afterward. Saying no is one of the most powerful, loving things you can do for yourself and honestly, for the people around you too. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are quietly saying no to something that could have filled you. Every yes to obligation is a no to aliveness, and that trade is almost never worth it. Your energy is a precious, finite thing. It is not infinite. It is not a tap that just keeps running. Think of it as the most valuable resource you have. Would you spend it carelessly? Would you let anyone who knocked on the door just walk in and help themselves? No. You would choose, and you would choose wisely. Self-care is not a reward you earn after everything else is done. It is not something you squeeze in around the edges. It is the foundation. It is the oxygen mask on the airplane. And if you have never really sat with that image, sit with it now. You cannot give anyone else air if you are gasping yourself. You cannot show up fully, lovingly, generously in anyone's life if you have run yourself into the ground. Taking care of yourself is not indulgence. It is the very ground you stand on. Before we go any further, I want to speak about something that has quietly transformed more lives than almost any other practice I know, and it tends to scare people, which is exactly why it is so worth exploring. Solitude, not loneliness. That is something different entirely. Loneliness is the ache of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the deliberate, loving choice to spend time with yourself, to sit with your own thoughts, to let the noise of the world fall away even briefly, and just listen. In those quiet spaces, something extraordinary happens. Your intuition gets louder. The whispers of your heart, the ones that have been trying to get through the noise for weeks or months or years, they finally have room to speak. What do you actually want? What truly excites you? What has your soul been waiting to say? You cannot hear those answers while scrolling or rushing or performing for other people. You can only hear them when you go still enough to truly listen. Make solitude a practice, not an accident, not something that happens when the world finally leaves you alone. Something you choose deliberately, with care. Even 10 minutes of genuine stillness each day will begin to shift things in ways you cannot fully anticipate. In solitude, you do not lose yourself, you find yourself over and over again. Now let us talk about something that most people avoid because it sounds a little too simple to be profound. Your energy field, the invisible but very real force that surrounds you and moves with you through every room you enter, every conversation you have, every thought you allow to take root, every thought you think shapes it, every word you speak influences it, every environment you choose either adds to it or pulls from it, and you have far more say over that than you have probably been told. You would not leave your front door wide open and let anyone who wandered past just walk in, sit down, and help themselves to your life. So why would you do that with your energy? You get to decide who enters. You get to decide which conversations deserve your attention and which ones quietly drain you. You get to decide which environments feel like sunshine and which ones feel like fog. Protecting your energy is not about building walls. It is about being intentional. It is about choosing rather than just absorbing. And once you start making those choices consciously, you will be astonished at how different you feel, how much lighter, how much more like yourself. And this is where so many people lose themselves. They exhaust their energy, not just in giving to others, but in trying to control things they were never meant to control. How others see them, how situations will unfold, how the future will look. They grip the rope so tightly that their hands bleed, and they still will not let go. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is trust. It is the act of saying, I have done what I can, and now I release the rest. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot change, something opens in you. You start to breathe differently. You start to move differently. Life, quite literally, begins to flow. You are not here to control everything. You are here to grow, to learn, to feel, to contribute, and to move through life with some degree of grace. Trust that the universe is not randomly throwing things at you, even in the hard moments, even in the ones that don't make sense yet. Something is always working for you, even when it does not feel that way. And if you can hold on to that, if you can practice even a small measure of trust, it will change the texture of your entire life. Here is one more thing I want to say before we go deeper, And I want to say it plainly, because I have seen too many people let this one thing steal years from them. Stop waiting for the right moment. There is no perfect weather for blooming. There is no ideal condition for beginning. Clarity does not come before action. It comes through it. And every single day you spend waiting for things to feel safer, more certain, more ready, that is another day your dream sits quietly in the corner, wondering when you are going to come for it. You are ready now, not perfectly prepared, not without fear, but ready, because readiness is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move anyway. And once you have found yourself in the stillness, once you have started to hear your own voice again, you begin to see something that used to terrify you in a completely different light. Change. Life is always moving, always asking you to grow, to shed, to let go of what used to serve you but no longer does. Most of us resist this with everything we have. We cling to the familiar even when it is making us miserable, because at least the misery is known. Change at least is uncertain, and uncertainty feels dangerous. But here is what I want you to consider. If a caterpillar decided that change was too frightening, there would be no butterfly. If the seasons refused to shift, nothing would ever bloom again. Change is not the enemy of your life. Change is the engine of it. Every single beautiful thing that has ever come into your life arrived because something else shifted, ended, or transformed. So instead of bracing against change, practice leaning into it, not because it is easy, but because trust is a muscle, and the only way to build it is to use it. Remind yourself, every change in my life is leading me somewhere I need to go, even if I cannot see the destination from here. That is not naive thinking. That is the kind of courage that quietly reshapes a life. And your thoughts? Oh, your thoughts. This is perhaps the most underestimated territory of all, because everything we have talked about so far, the boundaries, the energy, the courage to choose yourself, none of it will truly take root until you change the voice that speaks to you inside your own head. You are always listening, even when you are not paying attention. Every word you say to yourself, quietly in the morning, in the mirror, in the moments when you make a mistake, is shaping you. It is layering into your nervous system. It is becoming what you believe about yourself. And most of us speak to ourselves in ways we would never, ever speak to someone we loved. Start paying attention to that voice, not to judge it, just to notice. Is it kind? Is it patient? Does it sound like someone who believes in you? Or does it sound like a critic who has been waiting for you to fail? You can change it, not overnight, but slowly, with practice and compassion. When the harsh thought comes, pause, take one breath, and then choose a truer story. Instead of "I always get this wrong," try "I am learning, and that takes time." Instead of "I am not enough," try "I am more than enough, and the world has not seen all of me yet." The words you repeat become your truth, so choose them with the same care you would choose anything truly precious. And this is where affirmations become important, not as magic words you say robotically in the mirror, but as seeds, small, intentional seeds of a different inner landscape. When you first say something like, "I am worthy of love," a part of you might laugh or flinch. That is not a sign it is not working. That is the sound of an old belief being challenged. Keep going. The more you tend to those seeds, the more they replace the weeds that have been growing unchecked for years. Say them in the morning before your feet touch the floor. Write them down where you will see them. Say them at night as the last thought before sleep. And most importantly, say them with feeling, with the energy of someone who believes, even just a little, that they might be true. But here is the thing about affirmations that most people do not talk about. As you begin to open up, as the soil of your inner world starts to soften, old things rise to the surface, old hurts, old resentments, old memories of people who did not treat you the way you deserved. And when that happens, the only way through is forgiveness, not for them, for you. Holding on to anger or resentment is like drinking something bitter every single day and wondering why you never feel well. It does not hurt the person who wronged you. It only weighs on you. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was acceptable. It is not pretending the wound never existed. It is simply choosing to stop letting that wound have authority over your present. You do not have to be ready. You only have to be willing. Start there. I am open to the idea of letting this go. That is enough to begin. And sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the one in the mirror, the one who made choices you now regret, the one who stayed too long, who gave too much, who knew better and chose differently anyway. But you were doing what you knew how to do with what you had at the time. Show yourself the grace you would give a dear friend. You deserve it just as much. When you forgive, something extraordinary opens. There is suddenly space, real, clean, open space for something the world talks about endlessly but rarely teaches. Unconditional self-love, not self-love when you have achieved something, not self-love once you have fixed the things you don't like. Self-love right now, in this body, with this history, with these imperfections you are still working on. Now, think about what it would mean to tell a child, I will only love you when you are perfect. We would never say that. It would be heartbreaking. And yet that is exactly the deal so many of us have quietly made with ourselves. I will accept myself when I will love myself once. That condition will never be met because there will always be another condition behind it. You are worthy right now, not in theory, not in principle. Right now, exactly as you are worthy of love, of care, of joy, of someone genuinely showing up for you, and that someone can start being you today. When you finally do that, when you make the choice to genuinely pour into yourself, something changes in the way the world responds to you. This is not mystical, though it can feel that way. People who radiate peace, who move through life from a place of fullness rather than need, who are not endlessly seeking outside approval, those people are magnetic, not because they try to be, because they simply are. When you are filled up, aligned, genuinely living from the inside out rather than performing for an audience, opportunities move toward you, relationships deepen, the right people find you. It is the power of alignment. Your outer world will always eventually begin to reflect the inner world you are tending to. You stop chasing, and somehow, without all that chasing, everything meant for you finds its way. So here is where we land today, dear one. Not at the end of a journey, but at the beginning of one. And all it requires is one decision. the decision to focus on yourself, not as an afterthought, not when everyone else has been attended to, but now, first, as a practice and a priority. Tend to your inner garden. Choose your words carefully. Forgive what needs to be forgiven. Protect your energy like the sacred thing it is. Stop waiting. Start now. Surround yourself with people who genuinely want to see you bloom. And every morning, before the world gets loud, put your hand on your heart and say, I am enough. I am worthy. I am here to live my own life fully and freely and beautifully. Not because someone told you that you should, but because you finally, truly believe it. Go out into the world with that truth and watch what happens. All is well, and I love you. You are still here, still waiting, still carrying that weight in your chest like you owe it something. And I want to ask you something that might stop you completely. What if the very thing you're gripping so tightly right now is the exact reason it hasn't arrived yet? What if the miracle isn't delayed because the universe forgot about you, but because you haven't let go long enough for it to land? Think about that for just a second, because if that's true, and I believe with everything in me that it is, then the answer isn't to push harder. The answer isn't to plan more carefully or work longer hours or pray more desperately. The answer is to breathe, to soften, to open your hands. Take a breath with me right now. Just one. Inhale slowly, and as you exhale, let your shoulders drop, because today I want to talk to you about the most honest truth I have ever learned in all my years on this earth. The one thing that changed everything for me. And it isn't a strategy, it isn't a method, it's a decision, a quiet, courageous, deeply human decision to stop fighting life and start trusting it. Miracles don't come when we force them, they come when we make space for them. I know that's a hard thing to hear when you're in the middle of something difficult, when the plan fell apart, when the person you love walked away, when the door you knocked on so many times finally stayed shut. In those moments, the last thing you want to hear is let go. Because letting go feels like giving up. It feels like defeat, like you're admitting that what you wanted wasn't going to happen. But that's not what surrender means. Not the kind I'm talking about. The surrender I'm talking about is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's a quiet confidence that whispers, life knows what it's doing, even when I don't. It's the moment you stop gripping the wheel so hard that your knuckles go white and you finally remember, you were never meant to drive alone. Place your hand on your heart right now. Feel it beating and say softly, just for yourself, I relax and trust that everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good. Feel those words. Don't just hear them. Let them move through you like medicine because they are. Healing begins the moment you stop trying to force and start trying to trust. And here's what nobody tells you. The moment you stop demanding that life bend to you, it starts bending toward you, effortlessly, quietly, like it was waiting for permission this whole time. You are not meant to carry the weight of every outcome. You are meant to dance with life, not drag it where you think it should go. Now let's talk about something I have seen people struggle with more than almost anything else. The belief that life is punishing them. When things don't make sense. When plans fall apart and doors close and everything feels like it's going wrong at once, it's so easy to look up and ask, why me? What did I do wrong? What's the point of any of this? I know that feeling. I've lived inside it. There were years of my life when I was absolutely certain that the universe had gotten my order wrong, that it had delivered the wrong experience to the wrong person. But my love, I want you to hear this, truly hear it. Life is not punishing you. It is preparing you. Think about it like a tapestry. Up close, all you see is knots and messy threads and colors that don't seem to make any sense together. It looks like chaos. It looks like a mistake. But when you step back, when you give it time and distance, a beautiful image comes into view. That's what divine order looks like from the inside. It looks like confusion, but from somewhere higher, a masterpiece is being woven. The people who leave make room for those who are meant to stay. The job that ended opened the path to the work that actually fulfills you. The relationship that broke apart showed you exactly who you were and who you wanted to become. None of it was failure. Every single piece of it was a transition, a turning point, a thread in the design. Say this with me softly. Everything is working out for me in divine order. When you say those words, you are choosing peace over panic. You are choosing faith over fear. You're saying, even when I can't see the full picture, I know something greater can. And that, right there, is where the real power lives. Not in having all the answers, not in fixing everything right now, just in staying open, just in trusting that life never moves against you. It moves through you, always guiding, always shaping, always carrying you toward exactly where you need to be. Now here's something I want you to sit with. And this is the part most people skip over, so don't skip it. Have you ever felt like you were waiting forever? Like love or success or healing or just some kind of clarity was taking so long that you started wondering if it was ever coming at all? What if I told you you weren't waiting on the universe? The universe was waiting on you, waiting for your readiness, waiting for the version of you who could truly hold what you're asking for. Because here's what I've seen over and over. Sometimes the reason something hasn't happened yet is because it would have been too small for the person you are in the process of becoming. Life needs to stretch you first, not to break you, to prepare you. So if things feel slow right now, breathe. You are not being denied. You are being designed. Life is not saying no. It's saying not yet. There's something better. I remember years ago, I was pushing and pushing on a project that meant everything to me. I was so convinced that if I just tried harder, if I controlled every detail, it would work out the way I needed it to. But the harder I pushed, the further away it seemed. And one day, I just stopped. I sat quietly and I said, if this is meant for me, it will come in its own perfect time. I let go completely. And do you know what happened? Within weeks, everything fell into place, easily, gracefully, without any effort at all. That's the power of surrender. The moment you release your grip, life steps in. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But the moment you open your palms, it stays. Letting go is not losing control. It's gaining peace. It's trusting that you don't have to chase what is already yours. And here's the thing. What is meant for you has your name on it. No one can take it away. And what isn't meant for you cannot stay, no matter how hard you try to hold on. This is one of those truths that sounds simple when you first hear it, but the more you sit with it, the more it starts to soften something inside you. Because if you really believe it, if you really let it in, then every loss starts to look different. Every ending becomes something other than failure. It becomes redirection. It becomes protection. It becomes the universe saying, "Not that one, love. Something better is being prepared." The next time impatience rises in you, remember the seed. The seed doesn't curse the soil for taking time. It just grows quietly, knowing the light will come. So do not rush your growth. Do not doubt the process. You are blooming exactly on time. Now I want to take you somewhere. Close your eyes if you'd like, or simply soften your gaze and let my words paint this picture for you. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a great golden river. The sunlight dances across the surface like 1,000 tiny blessings. The air is warm, soft, still, and you can hear the water, steady, endless, peaceful, moving with a certainty that has nothing to prove and nowhere to be in a hurry. This river has been flowing since the beginning of time, carrying wisdom and divine intelligence and something that can only be called love. It knows exactly where to go, exactly when to turn, exactly how to carry you. And you've been standing at its edge for a long time, haven't you? Watching it, wanting to step in, but holding something back. In your hands, you're holding a few heavy stones, and each one is something you've been carrying, a fear of not being enough, a worry that things won't work out, a belief that you have to do all of this alone, an old pain you haven't been able to set down. Feel the weight of them. They're so heavy, aren't they? You've carried them for so long. But the river is here now, and it's asking you to trust it. Gently, one by one, place those stones into the golden water. Watch them sink for a moment and then dissolve into light, because the river knows how to transform burdens into blessings. You don't have to fix anything. You only have to release it. Now step in. The water is warm. It wraps around you like a living thing, holding you, lifting you. You don't have to swim. You don't have to steer. The current knows exactly where it's going, and you are being carried by something loving, something intelligent, something so much larger than your fear. Feel yourself becoming weightless. Your body relaxes. The thoughts that kept you up at night begin to quiet. There is nothing to struggle against anymore. You are in the hands of life itself. You notice the river carries you forward, around soft bends, through rays of golden light. You don't know exactly where you're going, and somehow that's okay. You feel calm in a way that doesn't need to be explained. You realize you never needed to see the destination to know it was good, because life has never failed you, not once. It has only ever led you to more of yourself. Come back now gently. Carry that feeling with you, because here is something almost nobody talks about. The way we wait matters. Most of us have been taught that patience is just waiting, sitting still with your teeth clenched, watching the clock, hoping so hard it almost hurts, checking your phone, refreshing the page, running the numbers again. But that kind of patience is just tension with a longer name. That's not trust. That's fear wearing a costume. Real patience is waiting with peace. It's that soft, unshakable knowing inside you that says, "I may not see it yet, but I trust that it's on its way." Every dream has its own rhythm. Every prayer has its own season. The oak tree doesn't rush the acorn, and the sun doesn't hurry the dawn. Everything in nature moves at the perfect pace, and so do you. When you truly believe that what's meant for you is already finding its way, you stop grasping and start allowing. You stop begging and start receiving. The energy of patience says to life, I trust you. And life always responds to that. So instead of asking when, try whispering, I'm ready. Open your hands, soften your heart. Let's affirm this together. I am patient and open to all the good that life is bringing me. What is mine cannot miss me. Let those words settle into you like sunlight into soil. The moment you stop rushing, the miracle begins to ripen. Take a breath right here. This is where peace lives. Not in next week, not in the version of your life that looks the way you planned. Here, right now, in this breath, in this moment. You don't need to know how everything will turn out to be okay. You only need to know that you will be okay no matter how it turns out. So many of us learn to feel safe through control. If I can just manage every variable, organize every outcome, predict every turn, then nothing can hurt me. It feels like safety. It feels responsible. It even feels mature. But that's not safety. That's exhaustion. That's white knuckling your way through a life that is trying to carry you. Real peace doesn't come from controlling the waves. It comes from learning how to float. Close your eyes for just a moment and feel this. Peace isn't something you chase. It's something you remember. It's already in you, underneath the noise, underneath the worry. It has been there your entire life, waiting patiently for you to come home to it. Even in uncertainty, the universe is not confused. Every situation holds a solution. Every challenge carries guidance. As you quiet your mind, clarity rises, not because you forced it, because you finally made room for it. And now I want to tell you something about the energy you carry, because this might be the most important thing in all of this. And it's also the thing people most often gloss over because it sounds too simple to be the answer. But stay with me. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your energy. You can say every beautiful affirmation in the world. You can write your intentions in a journal and read them out loud at sunrise. But if your energy is tight with fear or control, if underneath the words you're terrified that it won't work, the signal gets tangled. The message doesn't land. It's like trying to make a phone call while screaming. The line gets distorted, but when you speak from a place of genuine calm, when you're rooted in trust rather than desperation, something shifts, not just inside you, around you. The whole energy of your life begins to reorganize itself around that peace. Think of yourself as a tuning fork. When you vibrate at the frequency of worry, you draw more to worry about. When you vibrate at the frequency of calm, you draw ease. When you vibrate at the frequency of gratitude, you draw abundance. It's not magic, it's alignment. Peace is contagious. It spreads through your words, through your energy, through simply the way you show up in a room. When you are peaceful, conversations open, doors open, People appear who feel exactly like the answer to something you'd been quietly asking for, not because you pushed harder, because you vibrated higher. So before your next moment, before your next conversation, before your next decision, take a few slow breaths. Center yourself in calm. Don't rush, don't demand, don't force. Just be. Say quietly, "My calm energy attracts peace, love, and everything that is meant for me." That calm is your prayer. The universe will always meet you at the level of your peace. You don't need to control the outcome. You only need to hold the vibration of trust. You don't need to shout your desires. You only need to whisper them with love. Because the universe doesn't listen to volume, it listens to alignment. And alignment begins here, right now, in your quiet, open, trusting heart. My love, before we close this time together, I want you to take one slow, beautiful breath, in through the nose and out through the heart. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your chest open. Feel the tightness in you, whatever you've been holding. Just begin to soften. You don't have to carry so much anymore. You don't have to figure it all out today. Just breathe and let life hold you for a moment. Everything that is meant for you is already on its way. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to prove yourself worthy of it. Life knows your name. Life knows your address. Life knows exactly when to deliver what belongs to you. The universe has perfect timing. Never too soon, never too late. Every delay has meaning. Every silence has purpose. Even the closed doors are gentle whispers saying, "Not here, my dear, not yet. Something else is waiting." Let this be your practice going forward. Allow, trust, receive. Allow life to unfold. Trust that you are guided. Receive with an open heart, even when good arrives in a form you didn't expect. And as you move through your days living this way, you'll start to notice something beautiful. Small things you used to rush past will begin to stop you. A kind word from a stranger, a morning where the light comes in just right, a moment where you realize you haven't been anxious for the past hour without even trying, a conversation that flows in a direction you didn't plan but somehow needed, a door that opens where there used to be a wall. You'll look around one day and think, "Wait, when did this start feeling different? When did things start feeling lighter?" And the answer will be when you stopped fighting, when you trusted, when you finally really let go. Those are miracles too. Say softly with me one last time, "Everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good." I relax and allow the flow of life. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late, and you have not missed your window. You are exactly, precisely, perfectly where you need to be. As we close, place your hand over your heart and just whisper, "Thank you. Thank you, life, for loving me. Thank you for guiding me even when I couldn't feel it. Thank you for teaching me how to trust." Because gratitude opens every door. It tells the universe, "I'm ready." The miracle isn't waiting somewhere far away. It's already here, moving gently through your breath, through your willingness to be present, through the quiet courage it takes to stop fighting and start flowing. All is well, truly, all is well. Go now and live today with a soft heart and trusting eyes. Expect good things. Expect grace. Expect the perfect timing of life to meet you exactly where you are. with all my love. What if the one thing standing between you and the life you've always wanted is the way you talk to yourself when no one else is listening? Not your job, not your past, not the people who didn't choose you, just that quiet, constant voice inside, the one that's been running in the background since you were a child. Because here's what most people never stop long enough to realize: you cannot enjoy a life you are not fully present in. And you cannot be fully present in a life if the person living it, you, feels like someone you need to escape from. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you changed my life. And I believe with everything in me, it can change yours too. Hello, my beloved friends. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Not because you need fixing, not because something is wrong with you, but because somewhere deep inside, you already know that there is more softness, more joy, more ease waiting for you. And it's not hiding somewhere out in the world. It's waiting right here inside the relationship you have with yourself. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to search for joy outside of yourself? Chasing it in other people, in the next achievement, in the next chapter, only to reach it and find that the feeling fades faster than you expected. You celebrate for a day, maybe two, and then that familiar heaviness comes creeping back. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a voice whispers, "Is this it? Is this all there is?" I've heard that question from so many people, and my answer is always the same: no, this is not all there is. But the fullness you're looking for, it doesn't live out there. It lives in here. I remember sitting alone once, many years ago, in a small kitchen. Nothing but the sound of a ticking clock and the dull ache of my own thoughts. There was no one to call, no distraction to reach for, just me, with me. And in that uncomfortable silence, I realized something that cracked me open completely. I had never, not once, truly learned how to be my own friend. Have you ever felt that? Like the silence inside is louder than the whole world outside? We do this, so many of us. We pour our very best into everyone else. Our most patient understanding, our warmest words, our most generous love, all of it given freely to the people around us. And then we come home to ourselves. And what do we offer? Judgment, pressure, a list of everything we should have done differently. We become strangers in our own hearts, and life, which is always a mirror, reflects exactly that back to us. Let's just pause here for a moment. Take a breath, a real one. Feel your chest rise and fall. That breath is your body saying, "I'm still here. I haven't left you." And that's the thing about your own presence. It never actually abandons you. Only you abandon it. Here's something I want you to really sit with. Your relationship with yourself is not just one relationship among many. It is the relationship from which every single other one is born. If your inner home is filled with tension and self-rejection, even the most beautiful day can feel gray. But when your inner dialogue becomes kind, genuinely, tenderly kind, even the most ordinary Tuesday starts to feel like a gift. You are the one person you will never be without. You wake up to your own face in the mirror. You fall asleep to your own thoughts. You carry your energy into every room you enter. So doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it seem urgent, actually, that this relationship be a good one? And before you say, But Louise, I don't even know where to start. Let me stop you right there. Because this is the part that surprised me most when I first discovered it. You don't have to start big. Here's the secret that changes everything. You don't have to love yourself completely today. You just have to be willing. Willingness is not a grand declaration. It's not standing in front of a mirror and claiming you have it all figured out. It's quieter than that. It's the whisper that says, maybe I don't have to be so hard on myself today. It's the moment you catch yourself mid-criticism and pause instead of piling on. It's choosing just once to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you adore. That tiny shift, that microscopic yes, is a crack in the wall of old beliefs. And through that crack, light begins to pour in. And here's what's beautiful about willingness. It's available to you in any moment, not just the good ones, not just when you've had enough sleep or enough coffee or when things are going well. Even on the days that feel like you're dragging yourself through mud. Even on the days when you look in the mirror and feel nothing warm toward the person staring back. Willingness doesn't require you to feel it yet. It just asks you to stay open to the possibility that things could be different. I have spoken with people who came to me after decades of self-hatred, decades of waking up every morning and the very first thought being a criticism. And what I told them, what I want to tell you right now, is that it doesn't take decades to undo. It takes one moment of willingness, repeated, just one small turn toward yourself, then another, until one day you realize the turns have become a direction, and that direction is home. Ask yourself right now, genuinely, when did you last give yourself permission to rest without earning it? When did you last sit with yourself in silence and actually enjoy the company? When did you last look in the mirror and think something kind? Not something you're trying to fix, but something you genuinely appreciate. If you can't remember, that's okay. That's not a failure. That's just information. And information is the beginning of change. Now, I want to be clear about something, because this is where a lot of people get tangled up. Self-love is not arrogance. It is not thinking you are better than anyone else. It is not selfishness dressed up in spiritual language. Self-love, real self-love, is simply the decision not to abandon yourself, especially when you're struggling, especially when you've made a mistake, especially on the days when you feel the least deserving of it. It means looking in the mirror on a hard day and saying, I am still learning, I am still here, and I am still lovable. Not because everything is perfect, because nothing has to be. So many of us were taught, sometimes by words, sometimes just by how we watch the adults around us live, that we come last, that taking care of yourself is selfish, that if you're not giving, you're taking. And so we learn to put ourselves at the very bottom of our own priority lists. And then we wonder why we feel empty. We wonder why we feel resentful. We wonder why, no matter how much we give, it never seems to fill whatever is hollow inside. Here's what I know after a lifetime of working with this. You cannot pour from a place of genuine emptiness, and you cannot fully love others from a place of self-abandonment. The love you give to yourself is not stolen from anyone else. It is the very source that makes your love for others sustainable, real, and free. When you stop trying to prove your worthiness and start simply remembering it, and it is something you remember, not something you earn, everything shifts. You stop chasing, you stop performing, you stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold all of you. And slowly, beautifully, you start living. Let me ask you something that might feel a little uncomfortable. When you are by yourself, truly alone, no phone, no noise, no one to perform for, do you feel safe or do you feel a pull to escape? If it's the second one, you're not broken. You're just someone who hasn't yet practiced being at home in your own presence. And that's a practice, like any other. The more you show up for it, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, your own company stops feeling like a locked room and starts feeling like a warm fire. Solitude becomes sanctuary. Stillness becomes something you seek out rather than run from. And that quiet time with yourself, the kind most people fill with noise and scrolling, becomes the most nourishing part of your day. This is what I mean when I say, learn to enjoy yourself first. So, how do you actually do it? What does this look like on a Tuesday afternoon when the day is hard and your thoughts are loud? It looks like catching the harsh inner voice mid-sentence and simply not finishing the thought. You know that voice, the one that turns every small mistake into a complete character verdict. That voice is not truth. It is just an old echo of pain. When you catch it, don't fight it. Just look at it gently, like an old friend who means well but doesn't know any better, and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but today I choose differently." It looks like doing one thing each day, just one. Not because it's productive, but because it nourishes you. A warm meal made with care. Music that makes something in your chest loosen. A walk where your only job is to notice the sky. These aren't grand gestures. They are love notes to yourself. Small, steady reminders that your presence is worth enjoying. It looks like laughing with yourself, not at yourself. Real, warm, bubbling up from somewhere deep laughter at the beautiful mess of being human. Have you ever tripped over your own feet and instead of wincing, just laughed? That is joy and grace meeting in the same moment. That is what we're building toward. And here is something that might surprise you. This practice of enjoying yourself is not just good for you personally, it is magnetic. Think about the people you're most drawn to, not the loudest ones, not the most polished, the ones who seem entirely at peace with who they are. You feel it the moment they walk in. There's a warmth, a steadiness, a kind of quiet glow. That is what happens when someone has genuinely made peace with their own presence. And here's the truth beneath that truth. The world tends to treat you the way you treat yourself. If you consistently overlook your own needs, you'll find yourself surrounded by people and situations that overlook you too. If you betray your own joy just to earn belonging, you'll find belonging that costs you everything. But when you wake up each morning and say, even quietly, even imperfectly, "My presence matters, my peace is worth protecting," life begins to agree. I want you to really feel that, not as a concept, as a lived truth. Think about a time when you felt genuinely good in your own skin. Maybe it was fleeting. Maybe it was just a single afternoon. But remember how differently you moved through the world that day. How conversation seemed to flow more easily, how you laughed more freely, How you said the thing you usually hold back. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was the world matching the energy you were putting out from inside yourself. This is not magic, it's alignment. When who you are on the inside starts to match who you allow yourself to be on the outside, the people, the paths, the opportunities that are truly meant for you finally have somewhere to land. You stop attracting what you unconsciously believe you deserve and start inviting in what you know. Deep down in your bones, you were always meant to have. I once sat with a woman who wept as she told me she had spent her entire life performing worthiness, achieving enough, being enough, doing enough, all so she could finally feel like she deserved to rest. And when I looked at her, I didn't see someone who needed more achievement. I saw someone who was absolutely exhausted from auditioning for her own life, and I told her what I want to tell you now. The moment you begin enjoying yourself without condition, not when you're thinner, not when you're further along, not when you've sorted out all your messy parts, that is the moment your real life begins. Joy is not waiting for you at the finish line. Joy is what happens when you stop waiting to be enough. So let's make it practical. Let's bring it right into your actual days. Each morning, before the noise begins, take 60 seconds. Place your hand over your heart, feel it beating, and say out loud, even if your voice shakes, "Today, I am willing to enjoy being me." Not, "I've mastered this," not, "I have it all together." Just, "I am willing." And here's the thing nobody tells you about that tiny morning practice. It doesn't have to feel profound. Some mornings it will feel like reading words off a page. Some mornings you'll say it, and immediately your brain will argue back with a list of reasons why it isn't true. That's okay. Say it anyway, because the part of you that argues isn't you. It's just the old programming. And the way you overwrite old programming isn't by fighting it, it's by gently, persistently choosing something new. In the evenings, before you close your eyes, write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself. Not what you accomplished, not what you fixed, who you were. Maybe you were patient today when it was hard. Maybe you asked for help instead of suffering in silence. Maybe you cried and let yourself feel something real instead of pushing it away. These things count. These things matter. And the more you witness your own light, even the faint, flickering kind, the less desperate you become for someone else to see it first. Create what I like to call joyful rituals, small sacred acts that are entirely, unapologetically yours. 5 minutes of dancing in your kitchen while the coffee brews, one honest page in a journal, not polished, just true. A walk where you leave your headphones at home and let yourself simply exist in the world. A no that your body has been waiting years to say, said quietly and without apology. These rituals are not distractions from your life. They are portals back to it. They are the daily reminders that you are not just a function. You are a person, and that person deserves gentleness. And now let's speak the words that plant new seeds in the garden of your mind, because affirmations are not spells. They don't work by pretending. They work by repetition, by presence, by the slow, steady rewiring of a mind that has been speaking harshly for far too long. Say these with me, in your own voice, at whatever volume feels right. I am enough, exactly as I am right now. I choose to enjoy this moment and myself in it. I am my own safe place. I am worthy of my own kindness. I enjoy who I am. I am becoming more of myself every day. My presence is not a problem to be solved. It is a gift to be offered. I am the author of my story, and I am writing something beautiful. I forgive myself for every moment I forgot these things, and I begin again, gently, right now. Let those settle. Let them move through you like water through soil. They may not feel fully true yet. That's all right. Seeds don't look like flowers on the first day. You just keep planting. Here is where I want to leave you, my dear, not with a long list of things to do, not with a program to follow, but with one single truth that I hope you carry with you long after today. Life does not become beautiful because everything outside of you changes. Life becomes beautiful when you finally come home to yourself. When you sit inside your own presence and realize, maybe for the very first time, that you do not have to keep chasing, that the search you've been on all this time was never for something out there. It was always for this, the quiet, steady, unshakable knowing that you belong to yourself, that you are worthy of your own love, that you are safe here inside the life you are already living. Every time you choose gentleness over criticism, you are rewriting your story. Every time you sit quietly and choose not to fill the silence with self-judgment, you are building something, not a perfect life, a real one that actually feels like yours. And here is what I know after all of this. After everything I've learned and unlearned and learned again, the most radical thing a person can do in this world is simply decide to enjoy who they are, not who they'll be when they've fixed the last broken thing, not who they'll be when everyone finally understands them, who they are right now in this messy, tender, still becoming moment. So take your hand, place it gently over your heart, feel that heartbeat. That is life saying, I am not finished with you, I believe in you, let's enjoy this together. You are not too much, you are not too broken, you are not too late, you are here and you are enough. Today, choose to enjoy being you and watch what life rushes in to meet. I love you, and life loves you too.